Good stuff. I hope this isn't a bad omen. The quad that they have on their box looks like its front tires are going. You got new coils and boots and bolts and spacers and the whole everything. Yeehaw. New ignition switch and keys with the right connector on it. We've got our 6 leads, so hopefully this one will cooperate. Fresh set of exhaust manifold gaskets. And another doodad that has the peg on it. And actually this one is a whole lot shinier. I might just swap it out since that one is, I don't know. I kind of ditched the dingy here and there on it, so I'll see which one I want to use. But I needed a peg, and that's why I ordered it. I got the whole thing cheaper than I could have just got a freaking peg for. So, and we have the driver foot peg because I needed that one as well. Hey, and this has the freaking pin and everything. This whole dang assembly. Right on. Well, yeehaw. It looks like, look, never been scraped. Like it was on, never got rode real hard. Like it ever got rode at all. God dang. Alright then. Cool beans. Old crush washers pried out with a combination of a barrel cleaning rod to reach in and pry. And I used one of my multi-tools with a little screwdriver in, which I've misplaced. And I used my little pipe tool with the scraper and the tamper and the poker to use the hook side there to pull them out once they got stuck. Now I'm about to stuff the new ones in, put the exhaust back on. Pretty simple. You just take your new crush washer and stick it in there. Yeah. Might have to coax it a little bit or tap it in. Yeah, go in there. Yeah. But they should go in their holes. Just gotta convince them. Old bag coils out and the first new one installed. Bolted in anyway. I still need to do the pigtails. About to open up the second one and put it in. Alright, both new coils are now installed. And I got the little boots on the high voltage or high static wires, discharge wires, spark plug wires. And I had to harvest the old boots off of the other coils because the boots that these coils came with are way too short. And they don't make it all the way down and seat on the plugs. So I've got to cut them down to length to where they're not just crazy long, and then put the boots on and then stick them in, and then we can find out if this thing will make spark, potentially. All right, so if you're watching this and maybe you're doing the same thing with your coils and took your old ones off and forgot which leads go where, it's pretty simple. And pretty much all of this generation of Suzuki inline 4-bangers is this coil fires number 1 and number 4 cylinder. And it does not matter which lead goes where because they fire at the same time. All right, so each coil, this is a coil and this is a coil. So it's triggered and it fires both 1 and 4, and then this one triggers and fires 2 and 3 at the same time. So you don't need to worry about which lead goes to where. Just make them aesthetically pleasing to you, and then trim them down so there's not just a whole crap load of extra pigtail hanging out. And that's pretty much how you do pretty much any Suzuki inline 4 of this generation. So 1 and 4, 2 and 3. A whole much more video I didn't take, but I got the plug boots installed, trimmed on the trim lines, and then went ahead and done decided to give everything a shot again. So I pulled the old wiring harness back out, hooked it back up just loosely. Electrically, I didn't put it in place. It's just loose. But I hooked it up and put power to it. And a couple of things are new. I now have an oil light. So I guess I fixed whatever ground was loose there. And checking with brake clean, I do have spark. It does try to fire up. But I got kind of excited about that, so I went ahead and put fuel in the fuel tank and cut me some fuel line to put onto the carburetors, and gave them some fuel and tried to fire it up, and it is just not firing up. So I just I pulled the tank back off, thinking maybe I'm just not passing fuel into the carbs, and looked down into the fuel inlet to the carburetors, and it was just dry. So I tried taking some brake parts cleaner and squirting that down in there, see if I can fill up, just a little bit of the float bowls with some brake parts cleaner to start off with, because I'm guessing they're nasty and they're going to have to be cleaned. So that can start loosening some of that stuff, and then try to fire it up on the brake parts cleaner that hopefully was in the bowls, and still nada. So I got to pull the carbs back off, clean them all the way out. So I was trying to avoid for now, because I'm going to have to fight all of these stupid float bowl screws that somebody attacked with a piece of rebar or something. I don't know what people's problem is. Just don't understand that it's a JIC fitting, not a Phillips. But anyway, that's where we're at. But it did fire up. It did fire up and run for at least a couple of revs on brake parts cleaner, so yay! Alright, back at it again. Carbs back on again after pulling the bowls apart, cleaning everything out, checking all the jets. They're pretty clean. Everything in there was pretty dang clean. A couple of the pilot jets were a little clogged, so it's like I just wasn't getting fuel going through the petcock into the carburetors. There was only one carburetor with any fuel in it, but got them back on, and I forcefully put some fuel in them before I put them back on, and got everything hooked back up. And CyberDog is alive. So yeah, that's pretty surprising. Surprisingly easy. Just a real simple carb clean out and throw a little bit of fuel in it. So I had already proven it had spark by squirting a little bit of brake parts cleaner into the, I'm going the wrong direction with it. Anyway, so I had already proved it had spark, and it would fire up, at least run a couple revolutions on brake parts cleaner. So there was no reason why it wouldn't run on gasoline. Once the carbs had gasoline, it fires up and freaking runs. And it does pretty much what I expect it to do without any kind of vacuum or restriction on the intake side, and that it requires that to open the diaphragm. So when I try and open the butterflies to give it a little bit, it chokes out exactly like it's supposed to be doing. All 4 cylinders sound balanced all the way across, nice and clean and smooth, and no popping, no spitting. I am very, very, very pleased with how that just sounded. And then of course I ran it a little bit more after I took the little short snippet and ran the carbs empty again. And it cleaned up even more after I took the little shot of it running there. So I'm very, very happy with the way it sounded. I got a couple little hiccups to sort out, and I'll be able to ride this thing. Everything's tightened up and ready to go. My new wiring harness should be here tomorrow or the next day. Airbox should be here tomorrow or the next day. I think that's all I'm waiting on at this point. Yeah, I mean, it's alive. Holy crap, it's alive! It's alive! So everybody who's been following along on this journey, as I've dived into it, dove into it. Appreciate you. Appreciate your views. Appreciate anybody who shared. We're not done by any stretch of the imagination. We still got a long ways to go for the completion of my vision of this bike. But thank everybody who's been interested and watched along, and anybody who's subscribed over me doing this build and videoing it and putting it on freaking YouTube for people to watch. But this is me. This is what I do. I work on stuff, and then I come home and I work on stuff. So yeah, I'm glad y'all enjoy. Share. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Y'all get a little more, what's that word? Generous, maybe, with hitting that like button. Help me with the algorithm and get my ugly mug out there a little bit more. Help me grow this channel. Anyway, thanks for everybody who's watched up until now, and keep watching. No, I'm on the side. I'm trying to stick my thumb out on the other side of the stupid camera.